Welcome back. This is the second video in which we're looking at creating a wooden and acrylic clock face. We finished last time with this CAD model here. So what I want to do first of all is just explain a bit more about the Roman numerals. So we could see first of all that if we were embedding the Roman numerals in this wooden panel, then we would have had these very difficult cutouts to work with. And instead, I'm going to be working with the Roman numerals cut out and then built on top of these, or glued on top of these wooden panels here. So what I'm going to have to do here is take the lettering here, make sure our gridlock's turned on, copy and paste those. Now, by the way, I'll just highlight there that there was an error that came through. Basically, this CAD file made by the student originally had a font called Elephant, which my computer does not have in its font library, so it substituted it with another type of font here. Okay, and obviously I need to make sure that these are going to be positioned accurately. In fact, I've got two of those now, so I copied them twice. But I also need to make sure that these are going to be successfully cut out as well. So if I go to properties here, let's have a look at some of the things I could do here. I could go to settings. I'm just going to choose another font here, which perhaps is going to be a little bit more bold. Let's see how that looks straight away. Okay, well, that's not really working at all, is it? So I think I'm going to pause the video here and just choose something very, very quickly that might be more appropriate. Right, so of course I went with Times New Roman there, which creates this lettering that we see now. Now looking at this, I'm finding that the leg here, or of the X, is a little bit on the thin side. So let's have a see what I can do about this, particularly if I'm going to be cutting this out of, for example, some black acrylic. So I've already made this bold. If I just pull that back to regular and see how that looks. Okay, and what I'm thinking of doing here is thickening up these letters a little bit. So let's have a see. Of course, I can make them bigger as well. So let's increase that to, let's say, 24. And I'm also, let's have a see, how is that going to look appropriate, or is it too big? No, that's too big now. That's too big. Let's take it back there to, in fact, I'm going to bring it back there to 19, and hopefully you'll see why in a second. And I'm also going to put a space between them. Let's do that. And then now if I get the contour tool and do a 0.5 millimeter graphical contour, can I now, oh, and notice, look, I've got them over the design there. So I need to make sure that I pull those away there before I do my contouring. Let's just put a contour in here and a contour in here. And then that now means I can grab with Shift Select those two contours, pull them across here. Maybe now I need to pull this one in a bit. So let's just make sure I've got step lock there to 2.5. Can I pull that in there? Can I now take them both? Can I group them together? Control G. And then now I need to align it up. Now I'm not going to worry about how to align these to the actual arm there of the clock. But also let's just make sure they're filled in black, because yeah, the alignment there is something I'll do in another video. But there we are. That now is going to be my Roman numerals, and I like the fact that I've been able to thicken up there that arm by using the contour tool. And looking at this, because I added on a 0.5 millimeter contour, actually thinking about this, what I should have done is I should have actually reduced the size of those down to 9. So that's correct, 90 millimeters plus a half. Yeah, that should make that right. That should make that so that the height of that lettering now is going to be 20 millimeters or 2 centimeters. Let's just double check that right now. Let's just step on with the attach tool, and that's coming in at 20. Absolutely perfect. So I've not actually changed the size of the lettering. I've just thickened it up there with the contour tool. Okay, so what I need to do there obviously is do that with all the numbers around the outside, and then they are going to be cut out separately from acrylic. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to pause the video, and I'm going to do that right now, and then we'll move on from there. Okay, so that's done, and I realized here that, of course, 12 should be XII, so I've updated that as well. And I feel as if perhaps now looking at this, oh, I hadn't grouped that together there, Control G to group. I feel as if perhaps the lettering is a bit on the big side, and if I was doing this for my client, I would want to perhaps make the lettering, the Roman numerals here, a little bit smaller, because I think they're a bit too big there on the clock face. But nevertheless, just as kind of chunky, so when I laser cut, things don't all break and fall apart. Okay, so I can see the lettering that I edited there on the outside, and then the updated contoured and black filled lettering. So let's see where we're going with this. I think what I'm going to do at this point is do a little bit of tidying up. I'm going to move that to the side. I'm not going to delete that because that's something I can refer to in my design folder. I'm also just going to pull all these away as well for the time being. And I'm also going to perhaps just maybe just go to setup, drawing, layout, and I'm going to change my size here to A2. And what that means is suddenly I'm going to have a lot more space to manipulate things with. I'm doing all this manipulation with step lock turned on. I should have perhaps done it as grid lock, but I'm happy with step lock. I can pull it back onto the grid if I need to. Okay, so here's my, I will go step lock now because I want to keep this on the grid. Here's my clock design. There's my original kind of concept. Let's just pull that to the side there for the time being, and perhaps just send that to the back as well. So those other things come in front. You know, I could align that all up for screen capture later. I want to see how this is broken apart. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to copy it, I'm going to paste it, and now I'm going to break it into its constituent parts. So I can see here that I've got this, come on, I have to zoom in a bit here. I've got the acrylic backing here, and then I've got all of these, I'm having to sort of double click here to pick this up, all of these walnut bits of wood happening over here. Or let's while it's wanting me to do this, let's grab all the numbers there as well, the Roman numerals. Whoops, that one's not been grouped together. Tut tut tut. Control G. Okay, I've got my Roman numerals here. Okay, so that can be pulled across there. Let's keep pulling this apart here. I've got these, got the maple parts as well as the walnut, of course. So, okay, so far so good. And I've got, as I said, all the maple parts coming across. Now my numbers are getting a bit in the way there, aren't they? Let's pull that to there. I'm trying to keep things sort of like all on an alignment here with this design kind of horizontally across. And then I think what I'm going to do here is select this. I'm going to shift and deselect. So shift and click and deselect those parts there. Perhaps group that together so it's easy for me to manipulate, and perhaps pull that to the side there. So those are going to be the laser cut parts that are going to come together to create this clock design. Now, what I want to highlight here is the issue that I need to bond these parts together. And at the moment, if I just grab this and bring it back around and snap it on there, and hopefully I'll be able to do that. I need to go down there. Well, there we are. So you can see that's perfectly snapping onto the edge there. Okay, because I've got gridlock turned on. You know, I'm going to have a very thin surface to glue these together here. So I need to think of another solution to manage this. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to get the rectangle tool, and I know that my clock mechanism is 55 by 55 millimeters. It's in my research. So I'm actually going to draw a rectangle here, and I'm going to draw this actually not 55 by 55, but 60 by 60. So I'm looking at my relative grid references there in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, okay, which is this part here. It disappears when I move things, but I'm going to reapply that to be 60 by 60. Okay, in fact, something else I can do here as well is I can actually just click on here, go to relative, and I can just dial in 60, tab 60, okay, and it draws my 60 by 60 rectangle. Let's just confirm that is the case. That is going to be 60 by 60. Okay, let's just undo that there. Okay, now what I'm going to do is grab this. I'm going to bring this in. I'm going to place that on top of where the clock spindle goes. So that represents my clock design. And then now I'm going to think to myself, well, can I have like a card background, or perhaps like a plain MDF background that becomes like a background layer that I can glue to? So I'm now going to get a circle tool. I'm going to click on the center, and I'm going to pull this up. I don't want to go up and down here, because if I go up and down, then the radius of this is going to go kind of all strange. Okay, I want to have it, well, it's not strange, it's no longer going to be an integer, and I want to have my radius as an integer. So I want to pull out here, keeping it horizontal there, and horizontally aligned to the clock spindle. I want to pull it out probably to about there. I'm thinking that's going to be enough, because I don't want to be able to see this backing piece from the side. So that's going to be 90 millimeters diameter, 90 millimeters radius, 100 millimeters diameter. And I'm going to select that. And now I'm going to select this, shift select. I'm now going to pull that to the side drop it here. And this now basically is going to become, if I get the bounding fill tool, nope, that's the contour tool, the bounding fill tool. Let's go for a fill effect here. I'm wanting to have a texture. Let's see, let's load a texture. Now, is there some kind of sort of just brown MDF kind of finish plain wood? Nothing striking me there. Cracked purple wood, no. What I'm probably actually going to do here is just have that. Nothing's grabbing me right now. I'm just going to have that as like a brown background. Maybe that brown there is going to be better. I don't know. I mean, you can choose something a bit more appropriate there, but let's click on this. It's going to be an island. Yes, that's an island there. No more islands. And this basically is going to be like a card, or I think an MDF kind of more sustainable backing piece here, which effectively is going to go behind the clock and everything's going to attach onto it. So if I just take this, if I send that to the back, then it now means I can get my acrylic clock face here. That's going to go on top. And then, of course, all these wooden pieces are going to fit on top like that. And let's get one more there. Let's have that one there. That's going to go like that. And then I'm going to have my that's going to go there. Now notice here that I've still got this circular outline coming through here and this clock um, construction line, clock mechanism construction line. I'm probably going to group those together with Control G, and I'm probably going to bring those across and just position those. Are they moving? No. Okay, that was weird. Let's grab them again. I'm going to move it across to here. So that's one way I could put this together. And again, I can just break this apart here and I can see exactly how this is going to be constructed. Now, there is another way I can do this. And it's, it's for me to choose my appropriate technique. Here, I'm trying to keep my amount of acrylic down and work instead with like this wooden background. I could instead make it so that this acrylic component here, actually, if I just get a circle tool here, I'm going to bring this out again to 90 millimeters in radius, so 180 in diameter. I could do that. And then if I select the central spindle and that circle there, pull those off, bring them down here, get my bounding fill tool in white. And I could make all of this, so we see, fill that. Yes, there's an island there, nothing else. And I could make that into the acrylic component. I'm trying to understand here. Okay, yep. I could make that into the acrylic component, which basically is going to go not only fill the middle area, but also become like a surface that I can then send that to the back, bring that one away there, which I can then obviously glue these panels onto. I don't think I want to have that circle anymore there, nor that circle there. So I can see now how I'm going to have glue applied here and then bring that in and drop it like so. Okay, I think I'm going to pause this video here. I'm actually going to go ahead here. I'm going to make these two types of clocks and then show you with the camera how these would look and how these would fit together and why I'm thinking of these two techniques. Okay, so the job's finished, and this is the CAD file that I sent, and what it gave me were these parts. Okay, so I've got my smaller acrylic white background. By the way, I've not taken off the protective plastic on these yet. For the time being, I need to do that before I finish the clock. The larger acrylic background, my wooden kind of supporting layer, all my walnut and maple individual pieces to the clock, and my Roman numerals. So, excuse me, if I have a look at this, there's two ways I can put this together. I can work with this backing piece, and then basically I'm going to be sticking this on. Now, I'm going to be using epoxy resin for that. I might look at that in another video, but not right now. Here's my clock mechanism, and I've got all my parts to it here. Yes, hopefully I have. And the reason why I've done the cutout here in the background is because the spindle here is only 5 millimeters long. So what that means is that I'm going to be putting this, let me just, oh, this is interesting. Look, this one seems to have already like a hanging mechanism, but there's another hanging mechanism with it. So in this case, it seems to have got mixed up. I don't need that particular component because I've already got the hanging mechanism there to go on the wall. But of course, once I've taken the protective plastic off here, I would then want to attach that on using the little 10mm nut there. That would need to be tightened up. So I'm just kind of rushing through this now, and I can see that that can then fit on there like so. So that's why I did the cutout here, because then I've only got the 1 3mm thickness of material there for the spindle to pass through. And then once I've got that glued into position, I would then be able to add in all of my walnut and maple backing pieces. Now I've got to make sure I get these in the right order, because if I remember here, when I designed this, the wood grain is all being vertical here. So I need to make sure that when I add in these pieces, I don't add them randomly, should I say. I actually make sure that I add these, and I'm not going to worry about hunting them all down now. Maybe that's the piece right there. That's going to go in there. And I can see here as well, there's a few burn marks on here. I can definitely take that to the sink. The paper towel, bit of soap, and I can get rid of 80% of the burn marks there. And then, of course, I've also got to make sure that I put my Roman numerals on. Now, this will be a little bit more tricky here, because I've got to stick these on again with an epoxy resin, and I've got to be very careful to make sure that I don't make a mess when I stick those down. But that basically is my clock coming together, and I have to say, I think that looks rather good. The alternative system was to work with a larger piece of acrylic, which means I don't need to worry about this wooden backing piece. I can basically put my clock mechanism. Is it going to come off quickly? Yes, it is. On there, attach it on with the little 10mm nut there, and then I'm going to be sticking on these pieces on the outside. Now, the problem with this, I've just realized, is the fact that I need to know where to stick them. And again, I'm not got the grain right here, but when I stick these on, I could have them so they're too far in on this side, for example. So maybe what I should have done with this is I should have engraved like a line in here which shows the boundary that I stick these up to. So if I just come back to my CAD file here, I've realized that with this design here, I should have had, let's add it in there right now. I should have had look, and I can't get that to the right size now for some reason. So maybe what I'm going to do here is take this design right here. Yes, I can do this. I can get the contour. I can do a 0mm graphical contour line. Is it going to let me? No, and it's not going to let me because I have no line to this. I've got to make sure there's an actual line around that. Okay, and then now I will, bizarre, I will be able to add another line around that, and then that is going to come into this design right here. I'm going to make sure that that is going to be in red, because on our laser cuts, red or green laser cuts, and then that will need to be, let's just confirm here, I'm going to have that shape plus that line. I'm going to just pull those to the side. Let's have a see how those look. That's actually what I'm going to send to the laser cutter. Let's group that together again there, because then this engraved line would give me a guideline which I can then stick my pieces up to make sure that everything is in the right position. So this has got a few complications with it. It also uses more acrylic, but overall there's less material being used because I don't have to have this separate piece of MDF. Which is the best solution? I don't know. I will let you decide that. Anyway, that's the end of the video. I hope it was useful, and I look forward to seeing you next time.